Welcome to Hope on Fire, relevant talk radio for young adults. Whether you're 25 or 45, there's bound to be a discussion that you care about. Our mission is to share practical ways to find God in your everyday life. And now today's host, Chris Lang.
Like most people, I have a variety of general interests in life, and a few that I'm really passionate about. Other than my family, spiritual things, and fitness, I'd have to say that animals have been right up there in my top 5 list of passions. I've owned a loyal, nearly human dog named Samson for almost 11 years. That's why our producer Randy McGray and myself are developing a new series about animals and how they teach us about God's love. Would you enjoy programming like that? If so, you will love today's topic, which is dogs, cats, and mission. Hello, I'm Chris Lang, and my guest today is Dr. Bruce Coston, a Christian veterinarian who recently published his first book called Ask the Animals. This is a vet's eye view of pets and the people they love. Bruce has a clinic up in Woodstock, Virginia, and has been practicing there since 1992. He's married and has 2 college-age boys who, by the way, helped us set up for our webcam shoot today. And oh, by the way, Bruce has 3 cats and a dog. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here today.
It's awesome to have you on the program. Tell our viewers about the title of your book. It was exciting to see that the scriptures inspired it. What was the significance behind it and for you in your own life?
Well, the title of the book, Ask the Animals, comes from a text in Job 12, where it says, Job 12, verses 7 through 10, "But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds of the air, and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you. Or let the fish of the sea inform you. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature."
That's awesome.
And for me, that was an amazing text because it gives a veterinarian like me, a Christian veterinarian, a spiritual context to do the work that I do. If it's true that in God's hand resides the life of every creature, then as a veterinarian, when I intervene in the life of an animal, in the illness of a pet or an injury, I'm literally reaching into God's hand on behalf of that animal. And that's really a wonderful place to be.
That's awesome, Bruce. Now, let's back up to your early years. You refer in your book to the gift. Tell our listeners, when did you know you had it? What is it? And it's a fascinating concept. Why don't you share that?
The gift for me is a gift that I've been given from God, I believe, which is a passion for animals. I knew that I had it when I was young. When growing up, the goal of my life was to raise that orphan blue jay or the squirrel, to try my very best to have pets and in a home where pets were not a high priority in my family. My parents are not animal people per se, and they did not really understand the impact that this gift had in my life. And so that gift it's a wonderful thing, the ability to share and interact with animals on a level that not everybody has. It's a wonderful thing. Now, it has its goods and it has its bads, because as someone who has the gift, it's wonderful to help those animals, but it also means that we are going to experience loss on a regular basis. Yeah. Our pets don't live as long as we do, and so we do lose them. And so there's good, there's pains, and there's pleasure with the gift.
Wow. Well, tell our listeners about when it was. First of all, which was your favorite animal growing up? I'm sure everybody wants to know that. And then how did you have to reevaluate that sort of passion in order to become a veterinarian?
Well, I was passionate about horses when I was growing up. I loved horses. Now, my father is a minister, and we did not have the resources to be able to own horses. And so the way that I indulged my animal horse love was to spend time at camp. And I was a faithful summer camper at Camp Colaqua in Florida for 9 summers. And then after that, I was a staff member at summer camps for an additional 6 summers. So horses were my first love. That's the animal that I really fell in love with initially.
In the book, you say that later in your training, in veterinarian training, you decided that you're going to have to expand your type of focus, passion for other animals. What happened to you there?
Well, I planned to do horse practice through my sophomore, junior year in veterinary school, at which point I realized that I was really very much enjoying the diagnostic challenges that come with being a veterinarian, the surgery, the internal medicine, those kinds of things. And at that point in time, if you worked with horses, you did a lot of vaccinations, you did a lot of deworming, and you spent a lot of time in your truck, and you didn't have as much time to really indulge those passions of veterinary medicine that I could with small animals. So I changed my focus in my junior year to small animal medicine, and it works for me much better because I can in the clinic, I don't have to have an anesthesia machine the size of a truck, and I don't have to have padded stalls to recover my patients in.
That's pretty good, Bruce. Now, tell everybody what is a typical day in the veterinarian practice life for you?
Well, I think that there probably is not a typical day in practice. Every day is different. That's one of the wonderful challenges of being a veterinarian, is that every patient is different. In one room, I'm going to see a 200-pound Mastiff, and in the next room, I'm going to be dealing with a parakeet or a gerbil. I've had patients that, oh, absolutely. The very first time that I have ever seen this particular species, the animal was a patient of mine. And that's happened on a number of occasions with sugar gliders. That happened just about a month ago. The first sugar glider I'd ever seen was a patient of mine.
Wait. What is a sugar glider?
A sugar glider is an Australian marsupial about the size of a small flying squirrel. And they actually glide like flying squirrels, and so they're called sugar gliders.
Randy, have you seen a sugar glider before? No, he's shaking his head no.
No, I had never seen one either. The very first one that I ever saw was a patient of mine, and by the end of the day, I had been bitten by a sugar glider 4 times, and had administered mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to sugar gliders.
Oh my goodness!
So there is no typical day in veterinary practice. It's all different, and not only are the patients different, the species different, but if I look at just dogs all day, and 1 minute I'm going to be a dermatologist, and the next minute I'm going to be an internist, and the next minute I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon, and it just varies from here to there. It's a wonderful field.
Okay, now I know everybody's wondering this because there's been books about this. In your experience, and you've been practicing 20 plus years or so now, would you say that the personalities of the pet owners are very similar to their pets?
In certain circumstances, that's absolutely correct. And one of the things that I'll do with my clients is tease them. If the animal is really aggressive and mean to me, I will say, well, those animals, they just mirror the personalities of their owners, and that usually brings a big laugh. No. Of course, when the animals come into my clinic, they're very stressed and very nervous, and I understand that that's not the typical situation for them. But the other funny thing is that sometimes people are drawn to animals or breeds that actually resemble them. I had it's absolutely true. Just last week, I dealt with a gentleman who owned a bulldog. And yes, he looked like his bulldog, or vice versa.
Well, hopefully the greyhound owner is into fitness.
That's true. They're very fast runners.
Well, tell us about now. A veterinarian's life is challenging, just like a medical doctor's is. You have to take call at night, and in your case, you've been a solo practitioner, I'm assuming. Do you have any partners in your practice?
I do now, but when I first started, I was solo for about 7 or 8 years. And at that time, we did not have any emergency clinics that were available to us. Now, in my area, I am a member of an emergency hospital in Winchester, which is about 20 minutes away, and so I don't necessarily have to take call every night.
Well,
and that's a tremendous blessing compared to how things were when I first started out.
I got to tell you, Bruce, in your book, and for those of you who haven't seen Bruce's book, Ask the Animals, yet, this is probably one. Actually, we're going to talk about some of the funnier content in your book, but your after-hours calls, you make the statement that later, as the night gets later on a full moon, the calls get more intense and important. And then you do a nice, funny twist. Tell our listeners how the calls get as the night gets later.
Well, in my book, I report how, and of course, a lot of this is tongue-in-cheek.
Right,
you know,
right.
One of my very favorite authors, when asked whether his stories were true, his response was, "Yes, they're absolutely true, but I never let the truth get in the way of a good story." And that's how I approach some of these. Now, these are all true stories; they really did happen, but there's a little bit of embellishment here and there. But I tell the scenario where the beeper goes off, and the later it is, the stranger the call. I'll just read this little bit. My beeper has gone off deep into the night many times to get answers to such pressing queries as, do you think I can reserve a boarding space for my dog for 6 weeks from now while I'm on vacation? 9:25 p.m. Why did you test for female leukemia in my cat? He's a boy. 11:30 p.m. How many eggs does a platypus lay? 12:30 a.m. Or my personal favorite, what do you call a baby swan? No joke, 3 a.m.
Oh my goodness. Now,
and the end of that chapter says, if you call me at 3 a.m., the answer to the question is an egg. If you call me at 3 p.m., the answer to the question is a cygnet.
Now, Bruce, before the break, we've just got a minute before the break. Tell our listeners a brief synopsis of the tickling egg in that chapter. The lady calls you very upset. What does she ask you?
She is upset, and she's concerned because she's gotten home from work late, and she has put an egg on to boil for supper. And she hears a noise coming from the egg, and she's sure that the egg is cheeping. And so she's calling to get this information. Why in the world is my egg that I'm cooking cheeping?
Wow.
And so I tell her I try to explain to her that no, the egg is really not cheeping, and I go through all the different scenarios about why it's impossible for her egg to actually be cheeping, and she's not convinced at all. And so I finally tell.
She even wakes her husband out of bed.
Oh,
apparently.
Yeah. And poor Ernest, he's overcome with mirth, which my mirth gets lower and lower and lower as time goes on through this call. And finally, I just say, you're just going to have to break the egg open and look, and then you'll see that there's no chick in your egg.
Hold that thought, Bruce. We'll be right back. This is Hope on Fire, relevant talk radio for young adults. Welcome back. I'm Chris Lang, your host on Hope on Fire, relevant talk radio for young adults. I'm here in the studio today talking about dogs, cats, and missions, our topic for today, and our guest is Bruce Coston, talking to us all the way from Woodstock, Virginia. Welcome back, Bruce.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, I know our viewers and our listeners on radio are on pins and needles. They're sitting on the edge of their chair wondering what was the outcome of the mystery of the chirping egg.
Well, finally I convinced her that what she needed to do was just simply open the egg, and she would find out that there was really no chick inside the egg. She didn't like this idea because she thought, well, you know what? What if the rest of the eggs in the carton have chicks in them too? And she said, what if the chick is really alive? And I was just so frustrated by this point. I said, well, if the chick is really alive, then you'll just need to put it out of its misery mercifully. Except I didn't quite say mercifully. Somehow my mind did a trick on me, and I said mercilessly instead.
Oh, my.
So that was the end of that story.
Oh, my. That was funny. Now, Bruce, there was another funny part in the book that just, maybe it's because I'm pretty squeamish around blood and scalpels and stuff. But one of the really cool things that you do in your practice is you invite interns, I think you said 8 or 10 a year, into your practice and kind of give back to your community and help them see if this is maybe a career they would like to pursue. What happened to the one bright-eyed, starry-eyed college student that one day?
Well, this was Melissa. And Melissa wanted to be a veterinarian, and she decided during one of her college breaks that she would come in and observe. And she reminded me very much of myself. She was very interested in what was going on. And we spent the morning in the examination rooms seeing patients. And in the afternoon, I thought, well, this would be really cool if she could now see surgery, because surgery is really one of the cool things that we do. And so, unwisely, I invited her to assist me with surgery, and we were going to do a cat castration, which is a relatively simple procedure. And I was kind of talking her through the whole thing, how exactly to hold, how to restrain the patient, exactly what to do. And
she was holding the cat's head, right?
She was holding the cat's head toward her.
Okay.
And I was talking along, and I didn't notice that her questions began to be less enthusiastic and less frequent. And finally, the cat moved a little bit, and I looked up just in time to see Melissa absolutely pass out all over the place, fell over backwards, banged her head on the cages behind her. And it was a real treat.
Now, Bruce, explain what happened to your poor patient, the cat, in that.
Well, how about if I read that part?
Please do, Bruce.
I looked up just in time to see Melissa's glassy eyes turn up to the ceiling. Her legs give way, and her body begin to sag down and back. I lunged in her direction, but was too late to catch her. She tipped backwards like a felled tree. There was a loud, resonant thud, like the crescendo of a kettle drum, as the back of her head connected with a stainless steel cage behind her.
Oh, my.
Unfortunately, her grip on reality faded more quickly than her grip on the surgical patient, and he flew off the table on top of her, trailing a not quite yet excised testicle behind him. So we helped her up. We patched her up. She had a little ding on her head, and told her she'd be welcome to come back. But I never saw hide nor hair of Melissa ever again. I think she's probably a very good accountant or librarian or physician or who knows what. But I bet you she's not a veterinarian today.
Bruce, let me see some of your pets that you have in your house over there.
Well, trying to get animals and kids to perform on command is not always easy. I'll see. My dog's laying right here beside me. Let's see if I can get her up here and sit on my lap. Come here, Story.
Well, I guess Star doesn't want to be a star today.
She is a baby. She is such a baby. But this is Miss Star. She's my girl. She's about, 12 years old now.
Nice.
Just my girl.
She's
about 12 years old.
Does she eat carrots like Samson does?
She actually does love carrots.
Nice.
She loves carrots. But I really don't give her much off the table very often, so she doesn't learn to beg.
Nice.
She's a good girl.
And what is her breed?
She's a mutt.
Okay.
She's probably a cocker mix, but she looks like a miniature golden retriever. And she's a rescue, like all of my animals are rescues. Oh, woof. We got her when she was about 6 months old. A rescue organization brought her into my office for spaying, and I just bonded with her, and she with me. So
well,
she's been home with us now.
She's really cute.
She is. She's a baby. She's her baby. We had to get a king-size bed so that the dog and all 3 cats could fit on the bed with us.
So now, what's the deal, Bruce? You got 1 dog and 3 cats. That sounds a little uneven. What's the deal with that?
Well, we waited. I see a lot of people make an easy mistake with pets. They want their kids to grow up with pets, and so they get a puppy when the children are about 10 months to a year old. And they're just not old enough to handle the puppy stage. And so we waited a little bit longer for getting a dog for our young men. They were probably in 4th, 5th grade when we got Star. And so we'd already had cats at that point.
I gotcha. Cats seem to live longer than dogs?
In general, they do, yeah. Average, I will see easily cats living 15 to 17 years, and dogs, depending on the breed, more in the range of 12 to 15.
I might be calling you about contacts for my Rottweiler Samson soon. He's 11 and he's starting to get, I think, some cataracts going on or something. So
yeah, you might have to talk to your brother about that one.
I should have brought him to the studio today and let you examine him over over the web.
Exactly. I'd get in big trouble for that.
Bruce, tell everyone the journey on the writing of your book. And then I want to leave a little time for you to talk about how your faith has been impacted by your commitment to animals in your career.
Okay. Well, the book started as a series of articles from a local newspaper. I started writing articles on how to take care of intestinal parasites and prevent heartworm disease and such stunning, brilliant literary masterpieces like that. And one week up against a deadline, I didn't have any of those topics to discuss. And so I wrote a quick story about just an event that had occurred in practice. And it really resonated with the readers. And I heard about that for weeks. And I thought, wow, I can write those kind of stories every day, because the stories that are initiated by the bond between the pet and the owner happen every day in a veterinary hospital. And so I began to write simple, true, touching stories about the patients that I dealt with and the owners that brought them in. And over the years, we had a kind of a skeleton of a book, and I began the process of trying to find a publisher. And that process took a long time. It was about a period of about four years to find a publisher.
Did you ever have a manuscript rejected by anybody before?
Well, yeah, actually, I began to submit the manuscript back in 2002, and we have a string of about 28 rejections on this manuscript.
Wow.
And then I decided that what I needed to do was find a literary agent to help me, and I have about 23 rejections from literary agents on the manuscript. And my very first choice for having the book published was St. Martin's Press, because they published the wonderful books from James Herriot.
Oh, okay.
But they don't accept authors without agents or authors that have not been previously published. And so what happened was I was able to sneak in the back door because I happened to meet an author who was working with one of St. Martin's editors. And he liked the manuscript and passed it on to his editor, and they purchased it without going through an agent. So it was a real serendipity. It was a God thing there.
Well, you obviously got blessed by the Lord to share your passion. Sounds like He opened up a door, and you didn't give up, Bruce.
Well, you really can't. If you really think it's of value, you just have to keep going and going and going.
Wow. For anyone who's listening today who has a dream, you've obviously demonstrated that you were not willing to give up the dream.
Well, I knew, based on the response from the readers that had read it in the newspaper articles, that these simple stories touch people at a very deep level, at the place where their heart impacts their pets. And I knew that was the truth. I just needed to be able to find somebody in the publishing world who could believe that too.
In the minute we have left, Bruce, what would you say to people about how this work has impacted your faith?
Well, I see every day character traits in my patients that I want to emulate. I see nobility, I see courage, I see loyalty, I see devotion, I see forgiveness. Mm-hmm. All of these traits that animals display to their owners every day, I get to observe as a veterinarian. And oftentimes those owners who own those pets don't deserve that kind of loyalty. They don't deserve that kind of devotion because they may not have been necessarily worthy of that in the way that they've interacted with their pets. And yet their pets still were devoted to them. I see that as an analogy of what God is like. I'm not worthy of what God gives to me every day. And yet he doesn't see the person that I am. He sees the person that I can become.
Bruce,
and he sees the person that he will be.
I want to thank you so much for your time today. It's been a blessing.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I just love God's second book called Nature. There's no question in my mind that God has personal knowledge and love for the animals of the world. Why else would Jesus tell us that the Father notices when the sparrows fall? You can share this program with your friends absolutely free by visiting our website at hopeonfire.org. You can also purchase a copy of Dr. Coston's book, Ask the Animals, through our website. And with Star, we'd like to say, God bless you, and we'll see you next time.
Hope on Fire is produced by Livestreams Media, a listener-supported ministry. To download a free copy of today's program or be a part of our social network, please visit our website at hopeonfire.org. You may also contact us by writing to Livestreams Media, P.O. Box 608513, Orlando, Florida 32860, or online at hopeonfire.org. Thank you so much for your letters and continued support. Until next time, may God set your hope on fire.